The ocean is Earth's last great mystery. It covers over 70% of the planet's surface, yet hides most of its truths within abyssal depth, thousands of meters below. There, sunlight disappears entirely. The freezing cold seems capable of stopping time itself. Even steel can be crushed under the monstrous weight of the deep sea pressure. Not even the sharpest blade can cleave through that darkness. We are left only with scraps of imagination to guess what unknown shapes and shadows may linger in those endless depths. Yet sometimes the ocean loosens its grip and spits out unrecognizable remains of large, mysterious creatures onto the shore. In 1962, cryptozoologist Ivan Sanderson gave these puzzling carcasses a name: globsters, or simply blobs. For centuries, countless globster sightings have baffled people. Many speculate they might be the remnants of enormous beasts lurking in the deep. From legendary sea serpents to giant octopuses, even prehistoric marine creatures believed long extinct. But today, the light of science is gradually illuminating these obscure mysteries. The St. Augustine Monster, 1896. On the misty, silent night of November 30th, 1896, along the coast of Anastasia Island, Florida, two boys riding bicycles stumbled upon a massive, bizarre corpse on the beach. They quickly notified the only local scholar, Dr. DeWitt Webb, a physician and an amateur naturalist deeply fascinated by the natural world. Webb conducted a detailed examination of the creature. According to his notes, it was over 2 meters wide and 6.4 meters long. Its remains were pale pink, almost ghostly, composed of a rubbery yet extremely tough substance. On both sides of the body extended several lobe or tube-like structures, as if the roots of tentacles that had been violently severed. The tail was described as badly decomposed and incomplete, suggesting its original appearance must have looked very different. Webb boldly concluded that the mass was the remains of a giant octopus. A local hotel owner, George Grant, wrote a short article about the discovery that was published in the Pennsylvania Gazette on December 13. Because the carcass was found near St. Augustine, it became known as the St. Augustine Monster. Grant included an extremely inaccurate sketch in which he added eyes, a tail, and various fabricated details. He went even further, claiming that the creature was some unknown deep-sea monster that had battled whales and sharks, losing its tentacles in the struggle. This sensationalized story misled many who were intrigued by the incident. Between January 9th and January 15th, a storm swept the carcass back into the sea, only for it to wash ashore again 2 miles south at Crescent Beach. This time, it caused an even bigger sensation. Crowds flocked to see it. Webb contacted Yale's leading cephalopod expert, Addison Barrow. After examining the remains, Barrow declared it was a new species of giant octopus, giving it even a scientific name and estimating its tentacles might have stretched 30 to 60 meters, longer than the largest whales or dinosaurs. He speculated that this giant might have been frozen in ice for centuries and only recently released into the ocean. But Barrow's theory gained little academic support. The situation took a dramatic turn when he received an actual tissue sample. Upon studying it, he quickly retracted his earlier claims. He noted that the tissue gave off a rancid, oily smell and concluded that it did not come from any living part of a creature. He suggested it might instead be a piece of a sperm whale's head, writing, "If you cut the nose off a giant sperm whale, it might resemble this mass in appearance." Unfortunately, scientific corrections rarely gain as much attention as the original sensational claim. Some people continue to believe in the giant octopus theory.
In 1971, Natural History magazine even published an article claiming, based on leftover samples, that the St. Augustine Monster was indeed an enormous octopus. But the article was aimed at the general public, poorly researched, and lacked academic credibility. Finally, in 1995, Pierce and his team used electron microscopy and biochemical analysis to reveal the truth. The so-called sea monster was almost pure collagen, not resembling invertebrate collagen and not matching the fiber structure of octopus tissue. The St. Augustine Monster was likely nothing more than a chunk of sperm whale's skin. Nothing else. The Ryōyō Maru Sea Monster, 1977. Now, let's turn to perhaps the most famous globster ever recorded, the Ryōyō Maru Sea Monster. On the morning of April 25, 1977, the Japanese trawler Ryōyō Maru was fishing east of New Zealand. When the crew hauled up their nets from 300 meters below, they found a massive rotting corpse tangled inside. It reeked horribly, with only parts of bone and decaying flesh remaining. It weighed about 1.8 tons and stretched nearly 10 meters long. Most astonishing was its shape: a long neck, estimated at 1.5 to 2 meters long, and 4 limb-like fins, although only 2 were clearly visible in photos. No one recognized it. Some thought it was a whale. Others believed it was a turtle that had lost its shell. Captain Akira Tanaka rushed to the deck, but instead of marveling at the find, he angrily ordered the crew to throw the rotting carcass overboard. The carcass was leaking thick fluids that he feared would contaminate the fish stored in the hold. Between a mysterious sea monster and a ship full of fish, the captain chose the latter, a decision many later called foolish. Fortunately, a young trainee biologist named Michihiko Yano recognized the significance of the discovery. Before the carcass was discarded, he managed to take 4 photographs, draw a skeletal sketch, and collect 42 tissue samples. When the Ryōyō Maru returned to Japan, the news of the discovery caused a national sensation. Many with paleontology knowledge immediately noticed its resemblance to plesiosaurs, the long-necked marine reptiles believed to have gone extinct 65 million years ago. When the public learned the carcass had been thrown away, they erupted in anger. Japanese biologist Tadayoshi Uchida famously exclaimed, "Japan's education is terrible. For the sake of 2 million yen in fish, we lost a national treasure. What an international embarrassment." To redeem themselves, the fishing company dispatched ships back to the site to search for remains. Even Soviet and American research vessels joined in. But 3 months had already passed. Trying to recover a dissolved corpse in the vast ocean was nearly impossible. Scientists had no choice but to rely on the data Yano had preserved. Initially, some Japanese scholars, based on the photos, supported the plesiosaur hypothesis, but others doubted it. After all, plesiosaurs were air-breathing reptiles, unlikely to remain completely unseen for millions of years. Chemical analysis of the tissue samples soon crushed all hopes. The corpse was simply a dead shark, specifically a basking shark. How could that be? The carcass looked nothing like a shark. Just look at the long neck. But once you understand how basking sharks decompose, the mystery disappears. As cartilaginous fish, basking sharks lose their jaws, gills, dorsal fins, and tail fins first. Their highly calcified vertebra and skull remain intact, creating a long-necked silhouette strikingly similar to a plesiosaur. In the photos, one can even see a small structure in the chest area, the remnant of the shark's lower jaw. The connection between the monster's front fin and shoulder formed a right angle, a typical shark trait. The cartilage fibers also radiated outward in patterns unique to fish, not reptilian vertebrae. Yano's sketch showed only 6 to 7 vertebrae in the neck region, each about 20 centimeters in diameter, consistent with the basking shark. In contrast, even the shortest-necked plesiosaurs had at least 13 vertebrae, far more than the Ryōyō Maru creature. Thus, the Ryōyō Maru Sea Monster was unquestionably a shark, almost certainly a basking shark. The plesiosaur theory simply didn't hold. This conclusion was established as early as the 1977 Scientific Symposium. Yet, to this day, some still cling to the plesiosaur fantasy. After all, the idea of a prehistoric giant still lurking in the deep is irresistibly captivating. That's all for today's episode. If you enjoyed it, please give it a like. See you in the next one.